Hey everybody, how is everyone? Oh man, I've just changed my contact lenses to my glasses because it is nearly 2 o'clock and oh man, busy day in the office on calls and creating lots of new things for my calm conception program and a day of diaries and lots of work. So my eyes are a bit all over. So I think it's going to be the rest of the day off. Homeschooling to do and just generally keeping Remy entertained, which is starting to prove a bit difficult. It was so much easier in the summer. But one of the things I posted about today and I wanted to do a bit of a video on is your tribe. And you know, I talk a lot about tribe. And when I say tribe, I mean the people around us. So the people around us in life have a huge impact, absolutely huge. The people that we choose to spend our time around without us even realising it is generally what we become and who we become. Sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. And that's down to you to identify. But generally in life, you know, we need to be around people that we can talk to and we feel comfortable with. People that we can open up to and trust and feel confident with, and them do the same with us, because it's a two-way street. So, you know, we live in a world where there's a lot of judgment. Unfortunately, a lot of people are in things for themselves. So it will be, what can you do for me? I don't agree with that. I don't feel the same way as you do. I don't think you're right because of this. And that happens a lot, you know. We live in a world where everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that's a fantastic thing. But man, sometimes I wonder where this world is going. But hey ho, that's for another day. But who we're around in life is really important, and that's just on a general day-to-day basis. But when you are trying to conceive and it's not quite going right and it's not going to plan, or it's been longer than you wanted it to be, the people that we're around have such a huge impact, because generally there's you and your partner and you're trying to conceive and it starts off normally all lovely and rosy and, you know, all exciting, and you're speaking about it all the time and you're both pretty much on the same page and it's all great. And I know more than most that after a while that can start to change. So it can become that your views change, your desires change. Most people will say to me that it seems like one person wants it more than the other or cares about it more than the other. So as time goes on, things start to change. One person generally deals with it better or worse than the other. Some people can get on with it a little bit more. Then, especially when you start to bring in diagnosis, certainly the person normally who has the diagnosis will feel like it's all down to them and they're to blame. And certainly I did. So there's normally you and your partner, which is fine to begin with. But after a while, I think you need to open that up. Now, if you're not comfortable in speaking to others about your journey, that's fine. It's generally quite hard on you if you're not, but if that's a decision that you've made, then that's fine. That's your decision and that's down to you. You can still seek help and support in different environments, so in groups, in forums. The only thing I will say, and this is from my mistakes, and generally everything I talk about and everything I do in like my calm conception program and that is from things that I've done or things that I've learned, my mistakes, the things I wish I could have changed. I spent way too much time on forums and different websites trying to link myself with other people and somehow convince myself that their story was the same as mine, sometimes even if there was only like a little speck that was the same. And I should have spent that time on me and my journey. So that's my little bit of advice for that. If you have got somebody that you can open up to and your partner's got someone they can open up to, it can really help to just and let everything out. So if you, whether that be a friend, parents, anybody really, just to be able to go and speak to. Now, some people, me and my husband Mark, were really open about it, purely for the fact it's nothing to be ashamed about. It, unfortunately, it's very normal, and much more common than people think. And it's not a quick process, you know. It's even just us going and getting approved for our IVF was a very lengthy process, and we were like standard criteria. It should have been, really quick to approve us, and then obviously getting our name on the list and waiting for treatment. It's not a quick process, it's not a month or 2 months and you're done. Generally, timings are you have to have been trying for a year before you'll even be considered for treatment. Then, if you meet the criteria, you put on the list and you're waiting. But normally they'll try lots of other things first. So you're looking at least 2 to 3 years in most circumstances. And that's a long time to keep that to yourself. It's a long time to keep quiet about it. And it's a long time to only have you and your partner to talk about. And then it can consume your whole relationship. So we were really open about it. And I'm really glad that we were. Some people received it really well and were really supportive. Other people sometimes didn't know what to say, and that's absolutely fine. And that's part of it, that we have to realise that and not take it personally. And some people were just like, we're here if you need us, because they didn't know what to do. And that's okay, because if you haven't been through it, you don't really know what you can do. When you're going through it yourself, you don't really know what you can do. So the point that we got to, where I was really, really glad that we'd been so open about it, was when it came to injecting. Because me and Mark are from about an hour apart, where I grew up versus where he grew up. And when we were going through our IVF, we lived in one part of the UK and his parents lived around an hour away, and a lot of my family lived about 40 minutes away. So if we were going somewhere for the day, we had to cart our syringe box around and our medication, and you have to do it at certain times, and I had to go and do my suppositories at certain times. And I just felt a lot more comfortable being able to say, I've just got to go and do this, or it didn't feel too bad to me. But I think that's because we were open from day one. Now, there's not a right or wrong. It's really down to you and what you want to do. But what I will say is the people that you have around you are absolutely everything, whether you tell them or whether you don't. Because even if you don't tell them, you need to be able to be comfortable enough to know that they're going to be there for you if you need them. If you're around people that you don't think would be there for you if you needed them, or that you don't think could sometimes empathise and get your point, or even try to understand where you're coming from, or have no interest in it, think about that. So the saying that your vibe attracts your tribe. Think about that. What vibe are you giving off? Who's your tribe? If your tribe is full of supportive, strong people who whether you have chosen to be open or not about it, that would be there no matter what, if you need them, if you decided to say, look, we haven't been telling you about this, but we've gone through this and it's worked or it hasn't worked, that they'd be there, then you've got the best tribe in the world, and hang on to them for dear life. Also, other things to think about with your tribe are communication. So try to communicate as best as you can with them. I, at times, was frustrated because I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't want to feel like I was constantly going on about our IVF. Then I was frustrated because people never asked us about it. And I was like, well, they don't care. Whereas now when I take myself out of the situation, I think, well, they probably didn't know what to say, or probably assume that if we needed help or support, we would go and speak to them. How you communicate with each other, so you and your partner. Very often when people are trying to conceive and start, we're quite good at it. Everything's quite positive. It can generally be quite relaxed and doesn't consume everything. Fast forward 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and it can start to consume everything, including you and your relationship. So have times that you talk about things and times that you don't. Now, it's not an on and off button, but have times more so that you say, okay, we won't talk about it tonight if we're going out for dinner, or we're just going to have a nice night tonight and watch a film and have a takeaway and just do what we want to do. And I know that's easier said than done, trust me, because we used to do it, and then I'd say to Mark, oh, I meant to say I bought this new pregnancy test, and he'd be like, Charlie, and I'm like, oh, sorry, remind me to tell you tomorrow though. So I know it's not easy, and it will take some time and it will take some practice, but try and have times, especially with your partner, that it doesn't just consume everything and that you can just enjoy being together again. And lastly, my little tip of advice is to always seek some help or support professionally. And I don't only just mean in the form of a coach like myself or a counsellor. I mean alternative therapies as well. So if you follow me, you will know that I went and had fertility hypnotherapy, fertility acupuncture, at times fertility Reiki. So go and seek other therapies. So something for you, something to feel like A, you're getting some control back, B, you're doing something for you, because 9 times out of 10 people will say, I just want to feel like I'm doing something, I'm contributing something. And C, a lot of the times it can be quite relaxing. So the acupuncture I found really relaxing. The hypnotherapy, maybe naively, I only went there to start having fertility hypnotherapy. And actually when I realised that I was there, I realised that I had lots of other things to talk about. So the past, the present, things that had happened to me when I was younger, myself, certain things I loved about myself, certain things I didn't. So one thing I always say, and I talk about it in my Calm Conception program, is that I hate to tell you, but if you are experiencing any sort of fallout with yourself, whether it be self-worth, self-love, self-care, self-respect, getting pregnant and having a baby, it won't just fix that. And it won't. And I say that with my hand on my heart, because I thought that was going to happen. I thought, I don't like myself much, I don't value myself much, I think I'm a bit of a failure in every aspect, my relationship's going down the pan really, it's not going great, I'm not really worth anything, so I won't bother looking after myself or bothering about myself. But as soon as I get pregnant, do you know what, everything will be fine. Guess what, it's not. That there's not an on and off switch. So you don't have that positive pregnancy test and then be like, oh yeah, everything's great now. All that happens, and if you've watched me previously, you'll know I talk about the worry just moving from getting pregnant to staying pregnant to having birth, giving birth and being in labour and being a perfect mom and perfect wife, and oh my God, what if I don't know what's wrong with my child? What if I don't know what to do? What if they don't like me? What if we don't bond? It will just go. And then imagine that with all this fallout that you've had with yourself, self-worth, self-love, self-respect, self-care. It doesn't just, bam, come back, and I promise you that. And that's a bitter pill. Like, it's a bitter... It is a bitter pill to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow, because very often, I would say probably 90% of the women I speak to, like myself, think that that's going to be what happens. But we've had years of telling ourselves this stuff and falling out with ourselves. So it's not just going to click. We have to do that work regardless of what the outcome is, how you get pregnant. Or whether one day you choose to go down an alternative route, or whether you decide to adopt or foster or use a surrogate or have a bit of a break and come back to it in the future. Whichever avenue you go down, we have to sort ourselves out along the way. And it's just another form of neglecting ourselves, because we think, oh, well, we'll get pregnant and everything will be fine because we'll just focus on the baby. Once again, we've completely forgotten about ourselves. And that's where having a really strong tribe around you is really important, because those people will say, don't forget about yourself. Don't lose yourself. Most mums I know, no matter how they've got pregnant, whether they've had any problems getting pregnant or not, will always say at one point that they've lost themselves. And I definitely did. I suffered with depression when I had Remy. And I remember saying to Mark one day, in floods of tears, very hysterically. You know, I'm not, no one calls me Charlotte really, but I said, you know, I'm not Charlie anymore, and I'm Remy's mum and Mark's wife, and I'm not me anymore. I'm not anything. And do you know what? We're in 2021 now, and I think I only really started getting myself back in about 2018. So in the times where I should have been absolutely ecstatic because I've got this newborn baby and everything I wanted, and we were married and we had a nice home and good jobs and nice holidays, and you know, all the tick 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 stuff on the tick sheet that we make in our head, I wasn't right in myself because I'd neglected myself, because I had complete tunnel vision and naively thought that I was going to get pregnant and bam, someone was going to flip this switch and I was going to be okay again, and it wasn't. But then I don't know how I was surprised, because I'd spent so many years telling myself all of this stuff. So that's where the tribe is really important, because they'll pull you back in line. They'll remind you how important you are, even if sometimes you forget it yourself. So your vibe really does attract your tribe. So think about the vibe you're giving off. It's really important to start to see who you've got around you and what they bring. So that's it for today. Really quick message. I apologise that I keep messing with my hair. I've just had a shower and dried my hair, and it goes all fluffy when I do it. So I keep messing with it because it's all fluffy. But have a good day. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe. And I know this time is hard for everybody, so I know what it does for the mind when you're trying to conceive and it starts to really home in on those things that aren't happening. So if you do need any help or support, please find me a message. I'm not going to try and sign you up for a program or sell you anything. I'm literally there to just help as much as I possibly can, because I've been there for a long time.